The Order of Maesters are an order of scholars, healers, and learned men of the Seven Kingdoms. The Maesters are not a religious order, although they do swear sacred oaths to follow the duties and restrictions of their office. Unlike most religious organizations, like the Faith of the Seven, women are not allowed to join the Maesters.
After shadowing the Maesters, I knew my way around the methods they used, from amputations to disease control and cleaning wounds. I was 14 at the time of my first operation. I amputated a lad's leg from the knee down, cauterized and dressed the wound, and after a few days of milk of the poppy to ease the pain, he was strong enough to be moved. The next few weeks he waddled around with the help of a stick I fashioned into a crutch to help keep him stable. We sent a raven to his home, and a fortnight later his people came to collect him and they praised the work I had done. It was my first taste of the joy a man could gain from helping those who needed, and I was rewarded by being named Arch Maester, the youngest Arch Maester in all of Westeros.
The entire Order of Maesters is ruled over by the conclave, the Council of Arch Maesters who reside in the Citadel. The Maesters wear a chain around their necks composed of various metals to signify their personal expertise. Each link indicates a different field of study. The biggest burden for many Maesters is that they're expected to never part of that chain, not even when they're sleeping.
I never knew my family. I was raised a street beggar. I robbed an odd job to eat and live. At the age of 8, I was given a copper piece to get a sailor suffering from gout some milk of the poppy to ease his ailment. I eagerly agreed. I could already taste the bread and mead I was going to buy after I returned with the milk. I waited for a maester to pass by. I waited what seemed like days, but in reality was around 2 hours. At the age of 8, with an empty stomach, hours can become an eternity. Eventually a maester passed me by, his chain rattling and his belt clanging with the sounds of bottles bumping one another as he took each step. I followed him from behind the market stalls until I saw my opportunity. I ran up and sliced the string holding his milk of the poppy vial using a piece of flint I'd sharpened and lashed together with dry leaves in order to make a makeshift knife. As I grabbed the vial and began to run, I slipped in the mud, still wet and slippery from the night storm. I must have hit my head on a rock because the next thing I know, I was waking up in the arms of a member of the city guard, blood trickling down my brow. I was taken before the Lord of Old Town, whose judgment was known to be swift and harsh. He held me in the audience of the city guard, the maester from whom I'd stolen, and the Lord's children. His judgment was for me to lose a hand, which was common punishment for stealing around Old Town. I squirmed and begged him to reconsider. I tried to escape, but it was no good. The city guard was too strong and easily manoeuvred my hand to a tree stump. Its wood decayed and chipped from the countless times it was used for this manner of punishment. The Lord drew his sword and raised it, but just before he was to bring it down and take my hand, the maester spoke up in my favour. He asked the Lord if he might take me into his service. His advanced age meant he couldn't get around much, and having a boy to fetch and collect for him would be a huge help. The Lord considered for a moment and released me into the maester's care. That is the day my training begun under the guidance of Bullrong, Arch Maester of Medicine and Healing.
The order has a hierarchy. Upon finishing the studies, students acquire the title of Maester. The entire Order of Maesters is ruled over by the Council of Arch Maesters, who reside in the Citadel. To become an Arch Maester, you need to be the foremost expert in a specific field. So you have the Arch Maester of Economics, an Arch Maester of Healing, the Arch Maester of Magic. Each Arch Maester has a ring, rod and mask made of the material that represents their field of expertise. For example, the Arch Maester of Economics would have a ring, rod and mask of gold, whilst the Arch Maester of Magic has those made of Valyrian steel. Lastly, but not least, there's the Grand Maester. The Grand Maester is elected by the Arch Maesters and is to serve the King of Westeros and King's Landing. He also has a seat on the council providing his wisdom. His main purpose is overseeing the day-to-day operations in King's Landing.
I grew, I learned, I studied, I ate, I drank. I wanted for nothing. At first I contemplated escape, but after no harm befell me I decided to stay and actually came to enjoy learning about healing methods. Soon enough I was mixing Maester Bullrong's elixirs for him, with such expertise that he himself said I would make a fine maester should I remain with him. So I did. I observed, I learned, I matured. I looked at Bullrong as a father figure. He took me in and gave me a trait to call my own. I spoke long with him about his life experience. He spoke of seeing over 80 summers pass, which didn't surprise me. His face showed the weathering of time. On my 13th name day he declared that I was to be the heir of his worldly belongings should any harshness ever befall him. I thanked him profusely, but in the back of my mind I wondered why he would name me. Why was he telling me this now? Over the next few months I could tell his time among the living drew short. He coughed blood and slept longer and longer each day. until one night I awoke to hear him calling my name. When I went to his bedside, he spoke of the immense pain he'd been dealing with and being unable to live with it any longer. He asked me if I would do him a kindness. I knew what he was asking, but I dared not speak it out loud. I asked exactly what he would have me do, to which he replied for me to fetch him milk of the poppy. I agreed, not because I wanted him gone, not so I could claim his worldly belongings, but because I owed him a lot. I owed him more than I dared to think. I owed him my life, and if he wished for me to help him into his eternal rest, I would not deny him. Tears rolled from my eyes as I fetched him a large vial of milk of the poppy. He eagerly drank it down. His pain seemed to ease and we spoke as we always would. He told me he was proud of the person I was becoming and assured me I would be a great maester one day. I drifted to sleep by his bedside. When I awoke, he was cold.
Nearly every house, castle, village and city has a maester. They are there to give counsel, attend to medical and educational needs. They are the ones that train the ravens and are responsible for the rookery. Some have expertise in warcraft, others in history. They are masters of construction, smithing, astrology. And one of the expertises is the art of higher mysteries, better known as magic. If a maester mastered this field, he can craft himself a Valyrian steel link to wear around his neck.
After Maester Bullrong passed, I was more determined than ever to become the man he knew I was able to be. I threw myself into healing studies until I was confident enough in myself that I could perform maester duties. After which I began to teach myself the rules of the kingdom, how economics was the foundation on which empires rose and fell. I learned astrology and navigation. I dabbled in smithing and even higher mysteries, what some refer to as magic. I became versed in history and the way in which high-born folks obtained their titles. I never forgot the lessons that Arch Maester Bullrong taught me, and I was often told that my attitude reflected that of the man himself. Over the years I had picked up a lot of his mannerisms and taken them as my own. I was on a quest to learn everything that this world could offer.
The maesters are essential to the Seven Kingdoms. Their wisdom is one that may never be forgotten during times of peace and times of war. Thank you for watching this video. If you did enjoy, feel free to subscribe and leave a like for more Game of Thrones lore and art. If you want to see more videos, be sure to click the eye in the sky. Love, Lore of Ice and Fire.